So welcome everyone. It's a lovely, cozy crowd. So welcome to this webinar. I'm going to share my slide deck in a bit, but I'm hoping that now we have the chance to also really have some conversation when we're like a little bit smaller. So I'm hoping that we're going to have a really good conversation and yeah, enjoy. So now I'm going to share my screen. Let me know once you're able to see it. I think you are, right?
Yep.
So, all right. So Rosa just mentioned today's topic is about, from product to profit, integrating business acumen into product development. A very brief agenda. We are talking about why business acumen is a crucial skill for PMs, how to develop and strengthen business acumen, how to incorporate it into the product development process. We will look into a case study, Clue, a cycle tracker. There will be also other examples I'm going to share. And I'm going to give you a very practical task, how you can get started on your job in your day-to-day life. And there will be time for some Q&A. A little bit about me, so you know who is presenting to you, who is talking in front of you. I'm Janina. I'm self-employed. With 10 years plus 10 years experience in building digital products. I worked with MarTech, HealthTech, lately renewables, e-commerce, and retail. So it's like a broad range. I have a passion for 0 to 1 product management. I love to do product discovery. All right. So what is business acumen? This is actually a question I wanted to ask into the group, and maybe you just give it a try and write something in the chat. What is business acumen to you? What does it mean? I'm also going to share what it means to me. But yeah, please feel free to share what you think is business acumen. Let's see what comes up. Okay, what do we have here? Okay, quick decisions for product development. Nice, nice. I'm just going to... Okay, alignment to business goals and objectives, understanding objectives and drivers of business. Lovely. Yeah, so I'm going to share ability to communicate these. I'm going to share how I understand business acumen, what it means to me. But it's probably a type of intuition based on experience. Yeah, very good. Like really good answer. So I can already see what I'm talking about. So what means business acumen? And it's a broad term, but I understand it in a way that understanding a business, how it operates, how it makes decisions, and how it can achieve certain goals and objectives. And this can include, for instance, strategic thinking, the ability to think critically, strategically, going ahead, consider long-term goals and implications of those decisions. Then there's also certainly the part of understanding a market, like being aware of market trends, customer needs, competition, industry dynamics. Then touching on the intuition part, I do think intuition and opportunistic thinking is part of business acumen, and some would also refer to this as product sense. So product sense is also a term that is trending a little bit. But essentially this is, experience that you develop over time, and you get a certain feeling of what does the market look like and how to spot opportunities. Then there's also the aspect, some of you already mentioned, decision making, making informed decisions based on analytics data and considering like various factors. For me, a big part is also understanding revenue streams, how a business is making money, essentially. So now we talk about why business acumen is a crucial skills for PM. And we have seen it like in the past years. Capital is no longer cheap. There has been a lot of layoffs. It is like almost a requirement for every business now to become like profitable, and it's no longer enough to increase or have a lot of usage of the product. You also need to make some sort of money. And I'm saying this because there was a time, or in an ideal world, we would make a lot of money by solving the right user problems. This is what we love to say in product management. So, yeah, if we're just solving the right problems for our users, then we can also make money. Often that's not enough. And I'm going to give you some examples where you might think, okay, I thought these companies are pretty successful. This means for us as product managers, we need to adapt our own skill set. We might need to think more commercially than ever. So it's not enough being user-centric. It's not enough being technical. You also have to think about like the commercial side of things. Okay, so I prepared like 3 examples of very user-centric products that struggle a lot with monetization. The first one is WhatsApp. I think that's one of the leading messenger apps in worldwide. They have over 2 billion monthly active users. However, you know, the app is free. It's free to use. And how would they earn money? The underlying business model is that they focus on WhatsApp business. Otherwise, they wouldn't be profitable. So the user-facing or the B2C facing app is not really profitable. So they had to come up with another business model to create some kind of profitableness. The second example is Snapchat, and you also know Snapchat probably, and you would consider like super successful. It has around 300 million monthly active users worldwide, but they actually struggle again with monetizing. And I mean, if you remember, they also had these kind of spectacle glasses. So they're trying to come up with a lot of different business models around the Snapchat app that has a huge user base to somehow, again, to create a profitable business. And the underlying business model in Snapchat is an advertising model. So they run on ads. And we all know this, has some problems because it often, compromises on experience and privacy standards. Then the third one is Evernote. And some of you might know Evernote. Evernote is a note-taking application, allows users to create and organize, share notes. They also have a huge user base, over like 225 million active users globally in 2022. And here they also struggle from like converting from freemium to premium because of the competitive landscape. So we have to remember, we can't run a profitable business on like a freemium version. It's no longer enough to just have a usage and a big amount of or great amount of active users. So then let's look into how are you going to develop and strengthen your own business acumen. I picked 4 areas that I think are important. There certainly might be more. We look into those 4 areas for now. I mentioned it before, or I might have mentioned it before, that it's no longer enough to just solve user problems. So it is important to think beyond user problems. If you're already solving a user problem, and the examples I mentioned before, they're solving it quite well, think beyond it. It's no longer enough just to solve the user problem, but think about it, how it would create value for a business, how it would create some revenue of a business. Then we have strategic thinking. And here you can practice strategic thinking when you ask yourself, how will we make money with this feature? Or how do we make money with this product area? It also helps to understand underlying revenue streams of your product, of your business you are working with, understand the business model behind, understand the levers of the business model, understand how your product area can impact KPIs and objectives. It doesn't really matter if you are working with an OKR framework, KPI framework. Understand what are the business objectives and how you can impact those. Then it also helps to read up on some economics. What I mean by this is, like, you are not supposed to do an MBA. You don't have to do that, but it can be interesting to maybe read the economics part of a newspaper, or just maybe look into Harvard Business Review from time to time. Those are great sources. It also helps if you observe the market trends and development. This just helps you to understand what is happening out there, and leaving your own product bubble. Just understand the dynamics outside of the market. Is the market like low, or is it like great outside and like cash is flowing? So it helps you to understand where are you operating it in. Then the last part is talk to your commercial team. Like commercial team, I mean like pre-sales, sales team, everyone that is selling software. When you are in a B2B business, for example, talk to them. They are often like, this is a fast track to learn about business acumen, because they are often very opportunistic. They understand the market quite well. They do understand the competitors extremely well. And they also know what sells and what doesn't. So it is a great source to talk to them and to try to put yourself into their shoes, so you learn how they are thinking. This is how I would go about it. Then, how do you incorporate business acumen into product development? 3 like tips or tricks you can use, or tactics, if you will. First one, go beyond user problem. I already mentioned it before. Try to, yes, you are solving the problem. Okay, you have a check mark, but then also try to think about the potential return on invest. And then you take those return on invest. This can be revenue, it can be a new market opportunity. It also can be cost savings. If you are like working on a platform where you're optimizing things, or that help you save some costs, that's also a return on invest. And take those things into the prioritization. So don't always just solve like user problems, but also think about like, okay, how can I get the greatest return on invest out of it? Secondly, look out for some opportunities. We love to do discovery, and sometimes we can get lucky if users are actually providing us some feedback and presenting us some opportunities. This is sometimes happening when you don't expect it, that users come to you and say, oh, okay, I have this idea. And then you think, oh, this is actually quite nice. Try to look out for those opportunities. These insights are like gold, and try to incorporate those insights into your product strategy and roadmap. Some of you might run with like very fixed long-term strategies, 5 years horizons. I do think it is valuable if you leave a little bit of room for those golden opportunities to pop up and be considered in those strategies. This can be good for the business, especially if you are like in a market that is like fast-paced, highly compatible, or like having a great competitor landscape. Those opportunities are like gold. And then the third point is validating the willingness to pay. I don't know how many of you have ever done a user validation in terms of willingness to pay, but for me, this is a really great indicator in understanding, is it solving the problem? Yes, okay, but are they also willing to pay for the solution? Because those are two different things, right? We can achieve high usage and we can get a lot of users to use our product, but if they're not willing to pay, then that's actually not product market fit, I would say. So it is a good idea to maybe prepare some kind of pitch deck and actually try to sell your products to users. And you can do that also very early on if you don't have an actual product, but you're like testing out ideas. You can build a pitch deck with nice prototypes, nice pictures, and trying to sell and asking, okay, what do you want to pay for this solution? And then you will get an answer. And if the answer is like, I don't know, or I don't know, I like the idea, but I don't really know what to pay, you should dig deeper, because they might be interested, they might use it, but it's not enough value for them to pay. These are like 3 tactics you can use to incorporate, business acumen into your product development process.
I would also interject and suggest and like obviously I would love to hear your thoughts on this, but the willingness to pay aspect, one way that may be a useful way to ask and get those answers of their, upper threshold or lower threshold is finding out what they already use to solve those problems, because then it's evidence-based of what their willingness to pay is, how are they solving it? And it might not be a one-to-one solution that is an app for an app, but it might be that they have a number of solutions that they use and pay for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Good point. I also remember that I used the question of asking, how cheap would it be so you would think it is like very low quality? So to get this lower boundary, just like trying to gauge where you are in this
Mhm,
is very helpful.
mhm.
Mm. Yeah, okay. Then I would say we dive into the case study I've prepared. So this is Clue. Clue is a cycle tracker. Is like personally one of my favorite products. What does Clue? It is like a period tracker, but it can also be used for like fertility, pregnancy, just observing your female cycle. And Clue has, 10 million active users and is considered market leading in Europe. So what's the problem? The problem is that somehow, despite their big user base, users expect daily life apps to be free. And that's weird, because we all have a phone and we all use apps, and there are weather apps, there are calendar apps, and those daily life apps are all free, and we expect them to be free. And I can only guess where this is coming from. This might come or might be a result of a time where, like, again, usage was everything, and it wasn't really important to pay for a product if I would have just a big amount of active users on that platform. but somehow we expect daily life apps to be free. So what can we do? The struggle is that Clue has been struggling to find the right and the sustainable business model for them. Because if we look into those daily life apps, often the business model below the surface is actually an advertising model. The problem with an advertising model in health tech or in like a femtech is that using data in a commercial way is very controversial. So you don't want to sell your user data towards like an ad company just to make some marketing, right? So then if people find out, this is going to end badly. So they have to find a different business model. And they have been testing out a premium model called Clue Plus, but they also have been struggling with like, again, converting freemium to premium. Yes, and I also have prepared an example. So we know they have like 10 million active users, and their latest product, Conceive, has around like 30K paying subscribers. So that is very little compared to a whole user base. So they have like some kind of conversion problem here. What's the strategy? What can we do if everyone expects the app to be free? One way, or their strategy, is to provide extra added value, like way more value than you would get in the freemium model. And how they want to do it is like, firstly, through smarter predictions and insights. So the assumption is that if I get like way smarter predictions, like knowing exactly when my period is, like getting reminded on point, getting educated around it, that this is valuable enough for users to pay. Then they're also investing into partnerships with related products or services. So there is this ring called Aura, and it's like a tracking device. So you put it on as a ring. It's like a physical device, and it can track your life, your sleep cycle, but also your temperature. And for some of you that are familiar in this area, like temperature is very valuable in predicting a female menstruation cycle, or when to conceive and when are the fertile days. So knowing or getting data might be extra value for those users. And then there is the third part of like product expansions. I touched base on it. We have the cycle tracker as the main product, and then there's also the pregnancy tracker, and then there's also the conceive experience. So they're expanding the whole product experience to more areas of like a female life, just to add more value here. The fourth point is about supporting science and research in women health with anonymous data. And here we are again, back to the data, and you might ask, hey, how's this added value? Like, what are they doing with my data? So the strategy behind it is, if I'm able to contribute with my data to some research and science, they might be able to get better predictions and insights around like specific diagnoses, so they can build better prediction models. They might be able to spot like, okay, it seems like you're having this and these, I don't know, like data points. So this could lead to, let's say, a more likelihood of like this kind of health diagnosis. So they are able to improve the prediction model, but also provide better content and a better experience by supporting the research. So it's like a win-win. So of course they want to close the health care gap or research gap, but they also want to get the results into the app and using them to get the app smarter. I also know that they have like a focus around educational content, for instance, for PCOS and PMS. And these are some, diagnoses. They want to create some awareness around it. And I think they're also trying to contribute in research in those areas to be smarter and get even smarter in those. They also launched a health condition feature that is like, I think, opt-in, and you can also opt out as a user to participate in some research. Yeah, so this is their strategy in adding extra more value to the paid version. I don't know how it's going, but I hope it's going well. Yes. So then we actually come already to the last part. A little like tiny task for you to take home. How to get started, and this you can really do in any kind of product organization you're working in. You can do it like with the whole product. You can do it in a small feature set in a product area. You can ask yourself, how are we earning money with this product feature, etc. Use it when you are developing something new, and really try to be critical. And let's say the answer is somehow negative, so we are not earning money or we don't have any cost savings. Rephrase the questions in how might we earn money with this? So you are learning to incorporate those kind of thinking into your process. Yes. Yeah, that was it. I think we're open for some Q&A if there are any, or if we want to have a cozy discussion. I'm also up for that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd love to. If anyone has questions, you can feel free to pop up your hand or enter them into the chat. I'd love to start with one that I have for you. Um, the the question of putting users first versus putting the business first. Usually, ideally, they're the same question, but oftentimes they might not be. So I guess the question is, what advice would you give to product managers who their role is to advocate for the users? Um, but what advice would you give to them in terms of balancing those priorities? You know, thinking in the objectives of the business and the stakeholders that you know are then liaising with, but
Yeah.
also yeah,
But
and as it relates, like how does it appear in the day to day, or like what how do you do it, I suppose?
yeah, so I'm someone that is like very user-centric. So I would always like go about trying to find the right problem and trying also to solve it in a right way and in a good way. Um, And then secondly, I would ask myself, okay, so now we solved this user problem, but we are not able to make money. Like, what can we do to support like this kind of solution? So I would try to solve the problem first and then have a focus on the business and commercial side of things. Because if you go the other way around, you you end up with maybe like not great products that are not solving anything, and that might be a bit useless. So it is important to have a specific problem that you're solving.
Mm,
This is how I would go about it.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then to follow up on that, if there is a way that you've identified a product or a feature, um, a way for it to help the business to help make money, if that is the objective,
Hmm.
um, what are the ways in which PMs can work with other departments, whether it's marketing or even finance? Like, what are the ways that you've experienced to then turn that idea into something that can be communicated so that it's actually then received by the user, and then hopefully it does earn the money that we think it will?
Mm, So I think there are like two aspects. I think you're trying to touch upon like, how do I position this product in the market so it is perceived as valuable enough so like users want to buy it. So this is one thing, like working with product marketing on like, how do we communicate this kind of value? How do we communicate the value proposition? So there's something that, of course, you can always try to tweak around, like what is the wording? What is the positioning? Can we be more targeted towards a specific user group? What can we do? So this is like the positioning side of things. In my experience, I loved working with like also sales and commercial teams. I'm not saying that you should build what they're telling you, but they're great. They're great. A great source of like getting some ideas, what is like frequently requested, and getting a sense of, aha, okay, this is what it would need for us to sell it and land this client. And using those insights then to like be opinionated, but maybe you're leaning a little bit more towards the side. So just using the insights is often enough.
Okay.
Mm.
If anyone else has questions, please stop me, because I have lots of questions in general. Um, the one other thing that I would ask is, in your current role as a fractional PM, do you face challenges in getting buy-in from your client, or is it easier? And when I say buy-in, I mean, if you're saying this product should be tweaked to fit with the business goals versus the users or otherwise, how does that impact your ability to, um, yeah, drive the solutions that you're recommending?
Let me just how so how I would approach it is like, I'm joining company and I'm joining a business and they have a certain problem, right? So they might not have product market fit, for instance,
Mm.
and they might not sell products. So there is some kind of problem always underlying. And it's either they're targeting the wrong user, it's either they're like having the wrong value proposition, or um or they're solving the wrong problem, or the solution is not good enough, which is then again a value proposition. So something is wrong with that. And this often, I mean, they might already understood it. And then we have to just find like, what is the area where do we have a problem here? And then we have to iterate until we get to a point of, all right, so we found the right problem. We're having a solution, but the solution is not good enough because it lacks X, Y, Z. And then we might be able to sell it if we're solving this in a good way. So trying to find like what is wrong usually I mean, a lot of, I don't think I have problems where people are saying, oh, this is a bad idea, because they already know like, okay, we're having some kind of problems, but we don't know where it is. And it's often just like finger pointing. It's like, oh, this is sales because they don't sell enough and they are not good enough. But it's actually a value proposition problem, or like a product problem. It always comes back to that. You have to find out what it is, and then you have to create something more valuable, and then essentially you are also able to sell it.
Mm.
So I'm trying to align, going back to your questions, I'm trying to align everyone around this approach, and then also align everyone around, okay, which actions are we taking from here to achieve, yeah, like creating a profitable product and a profitable business.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll continue with a question for actually the group. I would love to know, this is on the topic of,
We also have a question in the chat. Maybe we take it first.
yeah, let's do that first.
Yeah.
I could go all day, so
So,
let's do that first.
Valeria, you are writing in the beginning, you mentioned that it's impossible to run a profitable freemium model. But I can think about, I think I can think of a couple of successful companies, Spotify or Figma. Okay. What competitive advantages allow these companies to have a profitable premium business model? Yes. So I don't know exactly if Spotify is profitable, but I mean, I know what you mean. So they have like freemium to premium, and they might be able to convert it quite well. But for instance, Spotify, I know this because I also have a friend working as a product manager on Spotify. They have a lot of other revenue streams around it, around like the core service, the subscription of like listening to music and podcast. They also have CarPlay. And for instance, they have, if you have want to have CarPlay in Tesla, you have to buy something. So there are a lot of different business models. They also have the advertising model in the freemium version. So here again, it's an advertisement model that is the business model in the freemium. Yeah. So you are right, you can run a profitable business on freemium, but then you have something else underlying, different business model. True, you're right.
What I would ask Valeria as well as anyone else is, let's talk about apps. Are there apps in your life that you currently use on a day-to-day that are free, but you would be willing to pay for? And what are those? Janina, I mean, I'd love to know your answer too.
Yeah, I've been thinking about
One that springs to mind. Hi, Tyler. Everyone, nice to meet you. Is I'm still using the free version of Notion, but because it has so much of like my notes and things like that, I've got like a loyalty to it that I'd probably be willing to pay for now. And I have to think for some other examples, but one really random example I found doing some product research recently for a company was habit trackers cost straight out of the app store or very early on. Like there's no free version of many habit trackers, which I found quite strange. Considering like most B2C companies are free straight off the back. So not an example that I'd necessarily pay for, but something that I found quite random.
Would you say that your current use of Notion is the part that you would pay for, or would it have to be an additional feature? Yeah, is it like the loyalty and the fact that you're pot committed already, or would it have to be like?
Yeah, I think the next tiers up, correct me if I'm wrong, based at small businesses and then enterprise versus the free version is like the individual. So if they were to say, okay, there's like a premium individual, or say you just need to pay now, I'd probably continue paying versus I need any more features to go to a version that I would start paying for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking about freemium to premium conversion, I also think there's this strategy like Miro is using it to offer like the free version to individuals, and you can use it and get a hold of it, but as soon as you want to collaborate, then you have to upgrade. And I think this is like really smart because Miro is like a collaboration tool. So that's a really great growth model, I would say. And there it's also done well, I would say.
Yeah, and it's the same, for example, with ClickUp. They try to have a high impact on personal users, and they will promote the software in their companies because using ClickUp on the personal task is kind of useful and it's a bit of overkill. But when you are trying to promote in your own company, you must pay, of course. So it's the same model as Notion. They create some impact on personal heavy users, and when they find a use case in their companies, they will pay for the pro version.
Yeah, so maybe we should rephrase my sentence and saying, okay, you have to be smart and like have a strategy for converting freemium to premium, and then of course you can run a profitable business. So I think well spotted.
Easy.
This is what we want to do.
Can I ask another question, just slightly off topic of that?
Mm-hmm.
When you're, say, prioritizing at a company, how do you bring I suppose, the business acumen language into that around, hey, we have this idea, this potential solution, there's these potential revenue streams. How do you like size the potential?
Not always. Also, you can't size it always when you're like, let's say, untapping into a new opportunity, you know, like, okay, we're entering a new market, then you have maybe a market size or like a potential market size. So you can't always like put a number on it. You can make an estimate, and maybe that's enough. So putting an estimate on it, like saying, okay, we have this big market potential. This could bring us potential user base of X, and we have like average, revenue of user is this. So you can calculate something, but it's also often enough if you are very much aligned with the business objective. If you're knowing, okay, the company is going to move into that direction and this specific market is going to be important, then this is often enough to prioritize, I would say. If you have different revenue streams, I think you might want to look into into more of a specific number, but it depends. I mean, if we're already talking about revenue streams and you know that you can impact a specific revenue stream, this is already good. And you already know, okay, there's some return on investment there. But that's good. Sometimes it's really hard to put a number on it, especially if you're working in a corporate and you're working in like one of the platform teams. Like, how am I going to impact the revenue stream? It's hard to do. Sometimes it also helps to break down business KPIs and identify a product KPI that is like influencing a certain business KPI, right?
I would also add to that, in addition to like traditional market sizing where you take total potential users, their value in terms of finances. In addition to that, you could then also make an estimate based on the comparables. So if there are tools that already are doing that, maybe they might not be doing it as well as your new product might, hopefully. If they're charging $10 or £10, wherever we are, and your product that you're pitching can provide XYZ value in addition to that, then if you do that for a number of comparables, then it can kind of build a more of an educated guess on what that impact might be to your company's bottom line.
Yes.
I'm gonna do a scan for any last other questions. It could be about business acumen. It could be about Janina's experience at previous companies as a fractional PM.
Yeah, I've got, first of all, thanks for answering those questions. Second of all, how have you found your experience as a fractional PM in terms of, I suppose, work demand, and then how do you juggle potentially multiple projects at once?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so 2 questions. How I find my experience. I'm doing this since last summer, so I'm still fairly new to it, but I do like it so far because I like to work with different businesses, and I also like to explore different things. So I'm like, just want to taste here and there. It is, I think the greatest challenge, of course, is to sell and to find a new project, a new gig. And this is also the uncertainty. But I've learned to be comfortable in this uncertainty, and it is really about using your network and being more active than I was before. Going out, talking to many people, doing side projects, and then ensuring that I have a somewhat filled up pipeline. And then also there's the aspect of, charging a good hourly rate or monthly rate where you can also afford to not work for 1 or 2 months. So there's like 2 aspects where you can mitigate the risk and handle uncertainty. And then to your second question, what was it again? What was your second question again?
I was trying to remember.
I think it was balancing.
Oh, how you, juggling multiple at the same time.
So I right now I'm only working with 1 or 2 clients at the same time because I want to ensure focus for the product I'm working with. So I cannot handle like 3 clients. I'm like, let's say right now I'm 4 days with the company Loon, and then I have 1 day where I can potentially do some advising or training, or I just use the time to network and build up my side hustles, for instance. So I'm trying to ensure like focus for the clients, and this is why I only take on 1 or 2 at a time. Yeah, it's not like product design where you also have a specific tangible outcome, like a design file where you can have shorter projects and juggle a bit more. I think product management, it is about creating this knowledge and focusing and going deep. So it's more like a consultant gig. I would compare it like that.
Any other questions?
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm going to take, unless there are other questions, I'm going to take a minute to plug our programs. I know that Valeria and Christian, I think you were in the recent cohort, if that's...
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. And Tyler, if I'm not mistaken, I believe you're signed up for one coming up. Is that correct? Maybe?
Yeah, I think I just signed up to the one with product pints, the mentees and mentor.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, at this point right now, we're speaking to people who have benefited from our cohorts, but when this goes to LinkedIn and or YouTube, I'm sure we'll be speaking to more than that. Yeah, I wanted to point out that we've got programs for people who are starting out in product, who are moving into it, those who are moving up, as we say. So whether that's getting promoted from a PO to a PM to a senior PM, as well as what we would call moving together, which that refers to opportunities for collaboration and new projects with others in the industry. And what that looks like in our cohorts is 3 programs. One is Product Fundamentals, which just started on March 4th. We will have additional cohorts happening later in the year. And that goes over our fundamentals for people who are new, either not in product or in the first year or so of their experience. We've got product strategy, which for this market in the UK or in the Western EU. That'll have to be later in the year, but we've got one that's catered to the APAC region. And then advanced product management, I think this might be something that Valeria and Christian, and Tyler, you can relate with, people who are kind of in the midst of their careers, but looking to improve and potentially snag a promotion. So if you have friends or colleagues or people you know who you can recommend to join these cohorts, just give us a shout. Yeah, I want to end that with a thank you to everyone who joined, as well as Janina for sharing your wisdom and experience. Unless you have any other questions, I'll leave it there and wrap it up.
Thank you. Thanks for hosting and thanks for participation. It means a lot.